So,
Konami made a broken scale again. A couple of days ago I made a video complaining about the new Jaden scale, and in this video I speak very highly of the upcoming yugioh scale that has now been released. What I'm trying to say is I like this one. I think this one is completely fine. Yikes. As it turns out, this scale is actually pretty problematic, but not for a reason that is written on the scale, rather something that is missing from it. You may have not noticed it, but this scale has actually no deck building restrictions, which means that you are free to play any cards that you'd like in this deck. Deck building restrictions aren't necessarily a good thing to have on a scale. One of my favorite scales of all time, Make Lord Refinement, has been pushed out of several metagames due to its inability to play hand traps because the scale says you can only play Mech Lord monsters, which is a bit annoying. On the other hand, for all my grievances with two of my least favorite scales in the entire game, I have to admit that they do a better job at locking you into a specific archetype or card type than most other scales do. And for what it's worth, the first Odd Eyes scale did have some restrictions placed on it, locking you into Performer Pal, Odd Eyes or Magician Pendulum monsters only. And then Raging Pendulum happened, which didn't have any of those aforementioned restrictions. And we all know how that ended up, which eventually led to several cards being put on the limited list to prevent you from running them alongside one another, culminating in the skill getting nerfed and removing the part where you just get a free level 4 for free, which meant that Konami had learned their lesson, that giving out resources for free wasn't such a great idea. That was until the Odd Eyes Wing Acceleration scale, which did also give you some resources for free and had no real deck building restrictions to speak of. While it was mostly played in the way Konami intended, there were a couple of crafty deck builders even back then that realized that nothing stopped you from just playing the bare minimum of 3 Performer Pal Odd Eyes Synchrons and the tunings to search them, and fill the rest of your deck with good engine cards like Sky Striker cards. How interesting! But still, this skill required you to play one specific monster in order to get a bunch of resources. So what did Konami think would happen if you removed this one condition and gave people a bunch of resources anyway? The answer is this. This is the deck that topped the latest Meta Weekly, congratulations Marco by the way, and it basically plays nothing but good stuff cards, only engine, no monsters whatsoever, except for the Beaufort, which is really a hand trap, controls the board, and then aims to OTK as quickly as possible because you can just make Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon Overlord very easily. If you'd like to see this deck in action, Norrentino made a video on it, I'm pretty sure Neo Seraphi also made a video on it, both of those videos will be linked in the description. This deck works in a pretty simple and effective way. The Sky Striker cards are individually really powerful and flexible, and with Engage and other Sky Striker searching cards, we're able to access removal and disruption at the click of a button. Also worth noting is the inclusion of Sulfur Cord Elegance, with its third effect basically being part of Greed for the deck. It is worth noting that there is also a more trap-centric version that is heavily showcased in Neo Seraphi's video, but which pretty much aims to do the same thing. I had the personal displeasure of losing to this trap version in Legend 5, because they opened their one-off Necro Valley, and they just never run out of resources, because once your scales are set, you can just keep pendulum summoning over and over and over and over. All in all, what we are dealing with here is the unintended consequences of a scale that was designed with a very specific playstyle in mind, but no conditions to prevent players from building outside of this original vision, much like the Dragon Link deck that I showcased in an earlier video this week. Neither of these decks should exist, but they do, and this is Konami's fault for enabling them, or rather, not doing anything to prevent them from happening. So how can Konami fix this? It's super easy. You just need to add some deck building conditions in order to prevent people from just slotting 20 good spells and calling it a day. The designers clearly wanted you to play Odd Eyes, Performer Pal, and Femtonite monsters, so maybe you should just have a condition where your deck needs to have at least like 9 of them in order to function, which would shove people in the right direction. Another thing that would be beneficial would be an extra deck lock of some sorts. I don't think you should be able to use Super Poly as a catch-all in order to access pretty much every single relevant fusion in this metagame. And last but not least, one more thing Konami could do in order to prevent this from happening further would be to test the skills that they're designing before they go live. I can't help but think that if a handful of players were able to crack the skills and exploit its weaknesses just a day after it was released, why are the game designers at Konami not able to do the same? It's their job after all. Is it laziness? Is it incompetence? Is it both? We'll never know. But whatever it is, it sure doesn't bode well for the future of Duel Links, and it does explain a lot about the state of this game in late 2024/early 2025. And that's it for this video. Again, I did say that the previous video was the last video of 2024. That was a lie. I needed to talk about this deck because, Jesus Christ, look at this. If you'd like to support me, you can check out my Ko-fi in the descriptions. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dingust, Jimmy, Yannick, Aldishboy0 and Zinnia for supporting me already. Another way you can support me is simply by liking, commenting and subscribing to this channel. Make sure to let me know what you think about this skill, the implications of skills with no restrictions, giving you so many free resources, being progressively added to Duel Links, and so on and so forth, and whether you think this is a terrible omen for the months to come in Duel Links specifically. And hey, it's December 31st, so Happy New Year in advance, everyone. Hope that you all have a great time. Remember to take care of yourselves and your loved ones first and foremost. That's what I'm gonna do tonight. So thank you once again for watching, everyone. Take care, and I will see you all next year. Ha 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 ha.